Let me start from the beginning. Okay, so this is about the company database. So several tables are there. So we have employee database here, and then you can see uh, the department table. So we are going to keep track of employees, their departments, and departments may locate in multiple locations. So because of that, we have a department locations relation, the table. Then their projects, details of their uh, employees and their projects, work on projects, and then their dependent details. And then we also like load the data. There are several records I will show you in the when I run the script, and then foreign key constraints. Now, one of the things I have noticed when you specify foreign key constraints, most of you have used the default value. That means you have not specified this part. What should happen if someone delete or someone updates in your tables? Now that's okay. You can handle it multiple ways. One way is using the front end, uh, using PHP when you use the programming language, and also the other one is based on. Okay, so this part I'm actually interested in, like how you might actually handle secondary constraints. So in the project also, you might have to think about this. It's you can decide whether you want to put it in the database side, or you can use it with the application itself. That's perfectly all right, but I think you should make sure that you handle this properly, not just with the default value. Now, for example, now if you take the first one, this foreign key constraint is about the supervisors, that foreign key actually references the employee social security number. And when delete, we are going to say it should set it to null. And when it updates, it's cascade. Any updates cascade, meaning the propagate with other tables. And for example, another one may be if you look at dependent tables. In dependent tables, we will say, okay, employees, when delete, you are going to restrict it, right? This is the default one, which means if you do not specify this, then normally when you're trying to delete, then it'll restrict the deletion unless you actually delete the dependent. So that's there. But if you sometimes you can decide whether you can set null, or whether you are going to make it cascade, meaning like when you delete a particular record, other related records also are deleted from the data set, right? So think about this. And now I'm going to switch into the code and show you exactly how the data set look like. Now, when I'm going to share the command prompt again, let me go back. Let me go to MySQL, MySQL in bin directory, MySQL u root. So this is where we have show databases, and then, okay. So now I'm going to load this. For example, I'm going to say source, that is company.sql. So which will actually create the tables for me. So it'll execute the scripts. Now I think I'm in the company database. Now I can say show table. Okay, here is the table set. If I start from the employee, um, maybe I can describe, right? So this is what we have. We have name as Vacha, middle initial cha. Social security number is Chagin, birthday date and address Vacha, and the sex is character, and salary is a decimal one. And supervisor social security number, it's the foreign key. Remember, we talk about for all uh, employees, you have a supervisors and then department numbers. So if you look at the data, so here is looks like, maybe I can reduce the size a bit so that you can see it very clearly. I'll go to font, increase. Okay, so now you will see this. Right, here is what I have. Okay, so this is about the details. Let me font size another bit. Right, so here is what I have. Let me increase the size now. Yes, now it's, I think, better. Right. Okay. So here is the data set um, about the employees. So we have a couple of employees here. So they are here is the salaries, and you can see, for example, the first one is John Smith, and then that salary is there. Right. Now let me show you the dependent as well. So let me show you the dependent. Uh, So this is the dependent, which means their family members are also, we put it here. So if you have, if employee has their families, so their details are put it in the dependent database. So if you look at this, right, this is what we have. Right, you see that there are 3 employees, they are having their dependents put it here. Now let's see what will happen when you try to delete, right? A particular person. Let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the employee. So that employee is the John Smith. So let's try to delete the John Smith and see what might happen, right? What might happen. Okay. So there's no other relations up here. So we can say we will go delete from employee where social security number is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, now it says that, okay, you cannot delete or update the row because there are some issues, there are some dependents are there related to this, right? Because we already know from the dependent here, they are the dependent. So if you remember that, we said it's restricted there. So because of that, first of all, we have to remove them to perform this. So before that, we are going to delete from dependent uh, where employee social security number equals, first of all, we'll remove the dependents, right? Now, if you go back, the dependents, nothing there, we have only 4 records. Now we can go back and remove employee dataset, right? Now, if you say select all from employee, Right. Okay. Now, the next one I'm going to demonstrate what might happen if I want to delete this particular person like 3334455. That means Franklin Wong, because that is actually related here as well, because there's a self-reference. Because Franklin is the supervisor for Joyce as well as Ramesh, according to this. So in the definition, what I said was when you remove that particular person from the database, make it this to null, right? Now let me try that by removing the Franklin first. So it's delete from employee where social security number equals 333445555. Now it says you cannot do this because there are some dependents. Let's look at the dependent or from dependent. And then yes, we have three dependencies here. First of all, before you remove employee, according to what I have defined, I have to first remove these three from my database. So I'm going to delete them. I forgot to put where. Right, now it affected. Now if you go back to dependent, we have only one. Now we can go back to the employee, and then I can remove, yes, delete employee via 3344. Now for example, look at here. So what will happen to these two records once I delete that? So that row affected. If you look at the select again, now you will see these two records, right? So that to also make it to null, right? Because it's removed, right? That's removed. Okay. So no one from there. So once we remove them, right? So make sure that this is think about how you manipulate the data when you enter in the database. So as I told you earlier, these constraints you can handle through the database itself, like the way I have showed you, or else you can handle with the your programming side, right? Anyway, I mean, make sure that you make a consistent database. Most of the time databases are preferred now, especially when a particular database consists of multiple applications. If multiple applications actually access the database, then you may handle in the with the database, right? So there are always pros and cons the way that actually you implement. So think about that. Okay, so that's exactly what I want to discuss about this. um, and if you have any questions, then I can answer a few if you have any questions on that. Right. So let me then switch to what I have planned for today. So if you are new to dynamic programming, especially PHP, that's what we are going to use for this one. Um, and if you're new to this, I highly recommend that you try the commands when I'm explaining the content. And then if you have any issues, please report to me, right? Now, if you have already installed the environments, then you can have it in locally and then you can try there. If you have not installed, then maybe I can recommend some online tools. So let me show you like some um, tool that you may use it. So if you go to this, I'm going to say PHP online. Okay, so we have editor and then try yourself. Okay, I will put in the chat. So try with this one if you have not used this. Right, in the chat session, I put the online version. Uh, this is from W3 schools. In case you can try while I'm, working on this, right? And I will also like, some cases share or type and maybe we can discuss, right? What you will get. Okay, so having said that, let's start. So in this one, we will look at how PHP, could be used together with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript we learn in the front end. So how you are going to handle with the data, especially in the back end. We are going to store the data in MySQL, and in between, we can work with PHP. Uh, One thing to note is when you start the document extension, when you write something and when you save it, make sure you save it as a .php to represent PHP extension. This is not compulsory for security reasons. Sometimes you can even use HTML, and then you can configure your server to handle the way you want to handle PHP. But since you are a beginner, make sure that you are going to save it as PHP. Security aspect, I will discuss in the next week. Right. Now, so to identify the PHP scripts, we use the open tag. There are many ways to do this. This is the open tag. We have the open angle bracket and question mark PHP, and you close it with the question mark and the close angle bracket. And what you will get as the output is, remember, as a HTML code in PHP, right? So that I'll also show you. Right. So let's uh, write a small script. So you can try this. First of all, printing something, especially if you want to print something in PHP, we use simply echo, and then within double quotes, you can type anything, right? So this is exactly, I'm going to use the online version first and then offline version. I will show you both. So in the first one, I will put, right. So try this in the editor. In between PHP. So you can replace whatever the messages, you remove them, you put this and run and observe the output. So let me share the editor. So I'm sharing the editor with you now. So in this one, what I'm going to type is echo. You can type hello world. Yes, and then we put a semicolon. And if you run it, hopefully first time it might take some time. It just print hello world. So I'll also put 2 lines, altogether 3 lines echo. When you run it, you will get in the same line. The reason is, if you look at the output, you already know in HTML, if you just type, it won't break. You have to use a tag to break the line. So same thing will happen here as well. So if you want to go with the way exactly like this, the right now, if you put one BR, it'll be the next line, but no space like this. So you have to have 2 BRs, and then each you have to put BR. So this is enough for the time being. So let me put in this way. Okay, so I hope you're okay with the first run. And if you complete this step, please let me know in the chat so that I can move to the next one. So those who are starting, I highly recommend you will work on this, right? So you put this in the first install SAMP, then you can start Apache as well as MySQL. Those are the tools you need for the developing web application. And then whatever the files you can put into htdocs, right, inside SAMP. And then you can call it with the local host, right? Okay, so hopefully those who are new, you take some time to start with working with PHP, and also try some of the codes that actually we will discuss in the module. Okay, having said that, let's go back to the note. Okay, so let me share the screen. So this is what we were discussing, right? Okay, so when you want to make comments, 2 things, if you're familiar with C style, this is quite popular. So single line comment, you can have 2 slashes, and multi-line comments, you can have slash and star if you want to have comments. I hope that part I don't have to show it to you. So you're already familiar. Right. Then strings. Remember the very first thing is printing something, that we put echo, and then we put anything in the within the quotes. Now we can actually use to create a variable name. For example, here the variable name in Python start with the dollar mark. Dollar username is the variable name given, and we store this Fred Smith here. And when you want to output this, you can just say echo dollar username, right? And then um, you can actually assign to another variable. So this is what we have explained. Let's put into a file. So this time I said it's test1.php. I stored it as a username, and I will print it and then assign to another variable, and we'll put it, right? Let me show you this in my file. Right, now let me share my screen. So this is the screen. I already have this. So let me remove for the time being. And then let's put the variable name, username, and then I will put exactly the same, but you can actually modify this if you want, right? So now if you want to put this, you can just say echo dollar username. Let me save it, refresh it. We'll get this output. Right, next one. Saving this to another variable, let's say current user equals dollar username. So basically what will happen here, the variable username, we assign the value there into current user, and then we'll echo that. Yes, this is what will happen. So ideally we will get the same. Okay, since we want to break, let me echo with the separate statement, echo. So let me put br separately. So if I do this, yes, I should get this, right? So if you have done it correctly, so you should get uh, the output presented in the right hand side. Okay, now simple basics now you have to know. So when you do this, whatever the things you will get, the output is actually HTML code. Now to see that, you can right click inspect if you're using the Chrome, right? So usually it will show you this, right? If you go to HTML, if you go here, so you see that the output of the code here is actually a HTML, right? It's just simply HTML is there. HTML code is there. So remember that the output of this is usually HTML. Right. So let's move to the next one. Now, when it comes to variable, like you have already learned in other programming languages, so you can use numerical values, integer values, real values assigned to variables. So here the first one, you assign 17 to count variable, 17.5 count variable. Depending on what you assign, PHP will decide on the type of the data that you are going to store. Similar way, if you want to store multiple items, so we can do this. We can use array, and then we can, call it. Remember PHP zero index. So when you say team, you should get zero, right? Let me quickly show you this in the work, right? Now, for example, we already learned about um, the numerical variable. So it will not display it. So dollar count equals 17. And then I'm going to say echo dollar count. I missed the semicolon here as well. So if I save it, refresh it, yes, I'm just giving 17. Now immediately I can change. I can use the same variable. Now this time I can store 17.5, which is a real value. And then I can say echo dollar count. So which we will get this, right? So the string concatenation I have not discussed yet, but if you want to like add br, you can put it like this, right? So I will explain this later on why this I put it, or else you can just say after this, this one is better. Yes, both ways you are getting this. Okay, next one actually I want to discuss the arrays. So I'm going to create it as a variable team and array some string values. It could be the single quote or double quote, but don't, I think better not to mix it. And finally, n. So you can say echo $team 3 will give you the third value, right? Let me put br here as well. Let me copy. PHP zero index, I told you, that means the first value is 0, then 1, 2, 3. So that's why we get Chris here. Yes, we are getting this. Now, if you put 0, for example, it should say the first value. Yes. So I hope you are familiar with that one now. Right. Now let's move on. Let's say you are going to have two-dimensional arrays, right? For each row, then you are going to have array. You are going to create arrays, and then you enclose the array to create, two-dimensional arrays, right? So for example, let me go back to the code window. Two-dimensional arrays. So I'm going to actually use it for game tic-tac-toe if you're familiar with 3x3 grid. So that's actually trying to represent here. So the variable name we will get as OXO, and then we put up an array. Now you can just put the values, but now here we are going to have two-dimensional values. For each row, we are going to put up an array here. So the first row, I can put array, and then I can put the values. Right? You can just type it, but I'm going to, simulate this so that this should be O. Right. Now this will create this. So let me try echoing this. So I can say dollar or XO, and let's save this and let me refresh. I think I made some mistake somewhere. Let me quickly check. Array. The similar way we can work on assignment operators as well. So let me put assignment operator. Now, for example, if you just say $j, let's say 15, it's just you assign this to 15, isn't it? Yes. So if you say echo, $j, yes, should print 15. But at the same time, if you put this, yes, in the chat, can you tell me the answer for this? Those who already know this. Those who already know. Yes. The meaning of this is make a note of that. Those who don't know, $j equal j plus 5. You're adding to existing value j. So here we have 15 plus 5. So this should becomes, yes, 20. Similarly, you can have subtraction, which is similar to this, and which we will give you the answer, the 10 here. Multiplication, again the same, so you can put multiplication here. So which is the same as the value multiplied by 5. So when you run this, so you'll get this, right? So the similar way you can use it for the division. Okay. And then we'll put this, right? Okay, so that's about the assignment operators. Then we have comparison operators. Now, for example, I can ask something like this. We say $j is 15. Yes, I can ask whether j is equal to 15, right? Yes. You are checking whether it's equal to 15. We can say equal. Yes. So it says 1 because it's equal to 15. Let me put 10. No, right? Remember this. So likewise, you can check whether this is j is greater than 10. Yes, it's 1. That means greater than 10. Okay, those who already know, can you tell me the answer for this? Those who knows the answer, you can have is equal to is identical to it. Yes, this is similar in JavaScript as well, if you already know this. Yes. So let's say refresh it. No. If you put 15, because this is different 15 in string, right? Then it says 1. So I got the correct answer from Shanika. Thanks. Then logical operators, basically the outputs of these statements we can combine. We can have an O operator as well as not exclusively O operator. So you can check. And then here are some examples where what will happen, right? Variable assignment that you already know that. I'm not going to go into details. Okay, this one I want to discuss. If you are the beginner, then string concatenation, like what we discussed earlier, you can combine the two. So let me show you this in the code window. So in the coding window, let me put this string concatenation. So I'm going to say a messages. You have number of messages, let's say 5 messages. And then, we can say echo, you have space. This dot is to say concatenate. SGS dot space messages. Last one is a full stop and it's not dot, right? So if you refresh it, it says you have 5 messages. So this is important one, because whenever you want to change something, you can change it here. Let's say I have like 200, which will change it here, right? Now similar way, when you append something to a existing string, you can combine. The operator is also there, assignment operator. Now let's say we have this. Let me put in this way. I'm going to say $A. I'm going to say hello. And $B, I can say word. Now simply, if you want to, let's say, combine the two, right? So you can say co $A dot equal $B. It says hello. So what happens here? So in this particular case, what happens here, this is equal to, if you remember that, this is equal to $A equals $A dot $B, which means concatenations. We have hello and world, we put it, we store in A, and we echo it, right? So interesting one, and sometimes very useful as well. Now you have seen I use sometimes single quotes, sometimes double quotes. Now, if you ask me why, right? So remember, if you want to preserve the exact content, then should use single quotation, right? Now let me put this. I will go back to my earlier one. So I'm going to do it like this. So let's say I will put it this way. Dollar, remember dollar MSGS. Remember the previous example. Now I can say echo single quote. If I put you have dollar MSGS messages, let me put BR so that it will go to the next slide. It's a single quote here. And the same thing with double quotes. No, I will put BR lately, otherwise you might confuse. So here I'm going to use double quotes. Right. Can you guess the output? Those who already know? Can you guess the output? So what is the output of this? Those who don't know, you can try and then let me know the answer. Okay, so here's the output. So what you need to get from here is when you use single quote, remember that it will try to, output exactly as it is. So it will print the same thing exactly as it is here. Whereas when you want to evaluate some variable, we use double quotes. Now here we have a double quotes and we have variable, it will evaluate the value. That means that's why we have 5 messages. Okay, the next one is Now let's say you are going to use single quote, but you have a single quote inside, right? Then you have some issues. So for that we will use what we call escape characters, right? So the next example, I'm going to just demonstrate the escape characters. Let's say I will put escape characters. Now let's say we have message like this. So let me put with a single quote. So if I put a single quote, and within the single quote we have a single quote which is represent the apostrophe here, right? And if you run it, you will end up error, right? Because this will create a problem. Now for that you can escape. So we know that this should be escaped. So we put a slash, it's a black slash. You use backslash for this. And then if you rerun it, now you can, print the message, right? Now similarly, let's say we have something like this. Let's say I'm trying to print IT509 within double quotes, so it will be an error. So what could have done is you can use backslashes here to escape characters, and then when you refresh it, so you'll be getting the same, right? Now similarly there are many others as well. For example, so I can put it in this way. For example, I can say, okay, let's say, go to a new line character. You can put it like this. Yes, when you refresh it, you will get it like this. And when you want to space T, it's a tab character. Again, I made some mistake. Let me check where did I make the mistake.